everybody. We'll just give everybody a second to filter in. Zoom always takes a minute. Hello, hello. I'm sure you all know me by now, but if you don't, I'm Sandy Lowe. I'm Bold Strokes Books Senior Editor, and this is Bold Strokes Books Bookathon Special Edition panel. The panel the last few nights have been tracking the romance arc, and we are finally at the kissing panel. Those of you who have joined us all week will know that I have been accidentally promoting this panel all week, so I'm super excited that it is finally here. Let's bring on the kissing. We have Nance Sparks, Kimberly Cooper Griffin, Jaime Maddox, Ullrich, Dena Blake, and Vali. All right, awesome. And as my opening question, I thought I would heat things up right away. Go in for the kill and ask, what is one element of a good kiss? And I'm going to make it even harder and say you can't repeat what the previous person, peoples have said. So who am I going to be really nice to? That's who's going to go first. Dena.
Yay, first. So for me, I'm going to say it's the elements of surprise on both parts. They don't realize it's going to happen until it actually happens. And then it's like, wow, there go the fireworks. So I'm going to say surprise.
Awesome. I love that. Jaime, how about you?
I would say it's the opposite of surprise. It's been building and there's this tension and they're both wanting and waiting for it. And then finally it's like, ah. Oh.
Yeah, for sure. I love that too. I agree. It works both ways. A surprise kiss is good, but that building up of tension really make the reader and the characters work for it. Ullrich, how about you? One element of an exceptional kiss.
Oh, I was going to say the build up, but because you're a little cruel and I can't repeat
Just
people, I'm going to go with the lips. I know it sounds so simple, but you know, when you just fit, you know, when you just find that perfect fit for your lips, I'm going to go with that. My other option was breath. And I felt like that was not romantic or a good choice for right now. So I'm going to go with just give me some nice soft lips that it's like that puzzle piece feeling.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, I like that. Perfect alignment. Perfect. Nance, how about you? One element of a great kiss.
I'm going to say emotion. I'm going to go with the emotion of the kiss, all the feels about it, the passion, the excitement, all of it. It's the emotion of that first kiss.
Yep. Love it. Kim, how about you?
I'm gonna get weird here and say it really depends on when this kiss happens. If it's the first kiss, it's all about will they or won't they? You know, that unknown factor of it. And then once it gets into the real hot and sexy kissing, it's about, you know, that how they fit, right? If they're going to fit well together when it gets down to the time, and if it's going to be perfect or if it's going to be uncomfortable. That kind of thing. So I think it's more of the, it depends on the kiss, and it's about will they or won't they in the very beginning.
Oh, I like that. And I feel like that's a question for later about different kinds of kisses. I'm going to file that one in my back pocket for later. And Allie, who of course I was, the meanest to, made you go last. What element of a good
What did I do?
You'll probably have the best too.
Yep. She's already had her answer filed away.
Yeah. No, I would say I think the best part of any kiss is kind of taking some elements from y'all, but is that look in the woman's eyes right before you kiss her, and there's no attorneys involved. That she wants it as much as you want to kiss her.
Oh,
excellent.
I like that one. All right. Well, on that note, how much do you guys want some kissing scenes right now? Because I'm ready. All right. First up, we are going to hear from Ullrich.
That's me.
Who is reading from Holiday Wishes and Mistletoe Kisses, which is a collection of interwoven stories. So I'm super interested to know which kiss of the kisses we're going to hear about. Take it away.
Thank you. I had a little bit of a hard time deciding too which of the kisses I was going to go with. But I actually decided, because with Holiday Wishes and Mistletoe Kisses, each story follows a different couple. And I decided to go with Liv and Theo, who are our married couple who are going through a rough patch right now, because one is ready for kids and the other one is, well, she's much more hesitant. And on Christmas Eve night, Liv, who's the one who's a little hesitant about children, just meets her breaking point and she confronts Theo about it. Are we broken? Liv said. Theo wiped a tear from her cheek and said in a surprisingly steady voice, "Why are you doing this tonight? We have so many guests coming tomorrow." Liv started to crack. Because the thought of faking a holly jolly Christmas is more brutal to me than any consequence that could come of this conversation. Liv knelt in front of Theo, because watching you dote on guests and wondering if you care more for them than your own wife. Liv sucked in a breath at the pain brought on by the hypothetical situation. I'd rather die. Don't say that. What? That you'd care about everyone else more than me, or that I'd rather die? Theo looked at her with red eyes. I don't know how to fix this. Liv shook her head. Listen when I try to talk to you. Act like this is what you want. I do listen. You listen, but you don't hear what I'm saying. That makes no sense. I want to have a baby with you. Liv reached to hold Theo's face in her hands when Theo tried to move away. She forced Theo to look her in the eyes, hoping her sincerity was plain to see. I'm ready to start a family with you. A fat tear fell from Theo's right eye when she smiled sadly. I'll never forget the look on your face when I first mentioned kids. You looked terrified, horrified even. I can't shake that sickening feeling I had. Liv traced Theo's cheekbones with her thumbs, and she looked at her glistening, plump lips. I don't know how else to tell you I'm ready, and I don't know what else I can do to convince you. But what I do know is I can't fight for us to become parents when you're not even fighting for our marriage. Liv weakened at how perfectly Theo's jaw fit against her palms. She hadn't touched Theo like this in months, and the familiar feel brought both pleasure and pain. Do you still love me? She said in a voice so small, the words nearly disappeared between them. Liv. Theo's chin quivered against Liv's hand. Liv started to cry too, fully expecting a no, and pressed her forehead against Theo's. Please tell me. I still love you. Are you in love with me? Liv closed her eyes and braced herself. She didn't realize how firmly she was pressing into Theo until she pulled back to watch Theo respond. Theo clamped her eyes shut and started shaking her head. Her cheeks were flushed and wet with unrelenting tears. She sobbed loudly. It's okay, baby. Liv wrapped Theo in a tight embrace and held her as she cried. Liv fought against her desire to break down, to let the wave of nausea take over, and chose to comfort Theo instead. Her meltdown could wait. Theo spoke again after her crying subsided. I'm pretty sure I fell in love with you on our first date, the moment you told me about your childhood with a dollop of spaghetti sauce on your chin. Theo's breath was hot against Liv's neck. I've only fallen more in love with you every day since. Liv swallowed her sadness and the unexpected arousal she felt at having Theo against her sensitive skin. When did you stop? Theo pulled back and looked at Liv through long, wet lashes. I never stopped. Theo placed her hand on Liv's chest between her breasts. I'll never stop, and that's what makes this so hard. I love you, but the future I want isn't what you want. But you still love me, Liv said, smiling and crying at the same time, which means I still have a chance to prove our future will always be together. She pulled Theo up into a hug, this time squeezing tightly enough to communicate her relief and overwhelming love. I love you, she said, kissing Theo's forehead. I love you, I love you, I love you. She repeated it over and over as she kissed Theo's face, her closed eyes, her nose. She kissed Theo's temples and along the slope of her jaw. After kissing Theo's chin and the corner of her mouth, Liv lingered. She ran her eager lips over Theo's, reveling in the way their soft skin touched and caressed. She was meant to kiss Theo every day, forever.
Aww.
Aww.
Plus, I
Aw.
also feel like the kissing and the crying is an element of kissing that we didn't touch on, but I feel like
It
it's
is
a thing.
true.
It's totally
It is a real thing. Yes.
awesome. All right. Well, since Nance is here, we'll have a Nance read next. Hi, Nance.
Hi. How is everybody?
Good, good. I am super excited to hear your kissing scene. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Alaskan Wedding, and you can start kissing. Start kissing whenever you're ready. Really, we're all
I can
just
start kissing.
here.
All right, we're gonna go there.
We're ready and waiting. Oh my gosh. What a
Hello,
fun
everyone.
time. You can
As
start reading.
Danny said, I'm Nance Sparks, and I'll be reading from my November release, An Alaskan Wedding. I'd like to give you a little bit of background first. Andrea Daniel's life is overflowingly full. She put every ounce of energy she has into being a mom to her 2 daughters and her work as a registered nurse. And when her best friend Sarah asked her to be her maid of honor at her wedding in Fairbanks, Alaska, Andrea accepts. An adult-only vacation sounds amazing. Wedding photographer Riley Cannon can pick and choose her clients. So when she's asked to shoot a wedding in a remote Alaskan lodge, she jumps at the opportunity for a trip of a lifetime. It's been on her bucket list for years. The last thing either Andrea or Riley expects is to bump into the one who broke her heart 15 years ago. But when they see each other at the welcome party, feelings come rushing back. This scene is from the wedding reception in chapter 11. As the hours passed, the tender moments became less and less until the silly antics tipped the scale. Riley took a few final shots and then started breaking down her photography equipment. The happy couple rarely wanted pictures of the messier part of the night, where people's inhibitions were drowned in alcohol, love, and sometimes regret. She was almost giddy when the gear was finally loaded into her car. The strong bass from the upbeat music could be felt all the way across the parking lot. Lights flickered and flashed through the windows. She'd never gone back to the after party of a wedding. She was a contractor, not a friend. And once the job was done, she left. But she'd sensed the brides wouldn't mind her being there, given her connection to Andrea. So tonight, she'd break her own rules. Andrea was still standing between the fireplace and the dance floor, looking sexy as ever. Her shoulders swayed along with the music, and she smiled when their eyes met. The upbeat song trailed off, and the DJ announced that it was time to slow things down. The first few notes of a slow song started to play. Excuse me, beautiful. May I have this dance? I'd love nothing more, Andrea smiled. Riley took Andrea's hand and led her out to the dance floor. Before the first chorus, Andrea nuzzled in close, and her head dropped down to rest on Riley's shoulders. The warmth of her breath felt amazing on her neck. Andrea's arm wrapped up around Riley's shoulders, and they still fit together perfectly. Andrea stepped in closer, so close that Riley could feel Andrea push into her when she inhaled deeply. They swayed rhythmically to the music. She wasn't even sure their feet were moving, but their bodies were definitely connected. This was the moment in time that Riley wanted on film, a moment she wished would never end. Words weren't exchanged. There'd be time to talk later. She simply wanted to treasure the way this felt, treasure the way Andrea nestled into her neck and the way Andrea's thumb was gently stroking the hair at the base of her skull. She'd missed holding her in her arms. She'd missed feeling her breath on her skin. All too soon, the song ended, and the tempo of a fast song forced them to break away from each other. Andrea stepped back, and she looked as disappointed as Riley felt. It warmed her heart. Riley wasn't ready to let go just yet. Come on, kick up your heels. You used to love to dance. Dance with me. Andrea accepted Riley's hand and twirled in close. There was that amazing laughter and those dimples all over again. Such an incredible treat. Her eyes lit up like sparkling diamonds. They'd learned how to do a fun swing dance in gym class ages ago. and loved practicing it, mostly because they could hold each other for a moment when they spun in close. Riley dropped into the steps and Andrea fell perfectly into the rhythm. It was fantastic. The upbeat tempo of the song was the exact timing needed for the steps and the spins. Riley couldn't stop smiling. It was like a dream come true. They danced for a few more songs, a two-step, and then just some good old-fashioned silly wedding dancing until the DJ announced a short break. Could we get some air just for a moment? Andrea stepped into her shoes. Come with me. I know just the spot. Riley wrapped her arm around Andrea's waist and guided her out to the deck overlooking the lake. Oh, this is perfect. Thank you. Andrea leaned up against the railing and drew in a deep breath of the crisp evening air. How I've missed you. You're still the same kind, caring woman, aren't you? Was she? I think we both probably changed over the years. No one stays the same. It wasn't romantic, but it was true. Listen, the music's back. They're playing another slow song. Would you dance with me? Riley wrapped her arms around her and pulled her in close. Instead of tucking her head into Riley's shoulder as she'd done earlier, Andrea just stared up into her eyes. Her hands moved slowly up Riley's arms, and then up the sides of her neck and over her ears and into her hair. The sensation of Andrea's touch was almost too much. Riley felt Andrea's hand pull her head forward ever so slightly. It was all the encouragement she needed. She leaned down and kissed Andrea's cheek. And then that spot on the corner of her mouth where the whipped cream used to catch after a sip of hot cocoa. And then she kissed her fully on the lips. Andrea's lips parted slightly and the tip of her tongue teased Riley's upper lip. Self-control melted away as their tongues became reacquainted in a deep and passionate kiss. Riley's hands dropped onto Andrea's hips and then set out on a path of exploration up the sides of her waist. Breathless, Andrea broke the magical kiss. She looked up into Riley's eyes, her fingers still buried in her hair. Sweetheart, can we go back to the hotel? Andrea asked. I need some time with you. Riley looked down into seductive eyes. The power they still held over her was undeniable. The dizziness she felt, along with the weakness in her knees, couldn't be blamed on alcohol, since she'd had very little to drink. No, the culprit of her state of being was snuggled up in her arms, pressing into her with each breath. There was no doubt that she wanted to go back to the hotel room too. More than anything, she wanted to help Andrea out of that dress. But then what? Was Andrea just another single member of the wedding party who needed relief after a day bathed in romance? Not that she minded offering that relief to any number of women over the years. But Andrea was different. Andrea possessed the key to her heart, and the risk of being hurt all over again was very real. She drew in a deep breath, immersing her senses in the fragrance of Andrea's perfume. The regret she'd feel if she denied herself the chance to experience an evening alone with Andrea far outweighed the possibility of being hurt again. She wrapped her arm around Andrea's waist and led her to the car.
Wow, it's heating up in here.
There you go.
It was awesome. And I love dancing too, as that like socially acceptable way to get very close, but in a public place where you can't.
Oh, totally. Yep.
Yep. Love it. Perfect scene. Great job, Nance. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Dena Blake. Hi, Dena.
Hey.
You're reading from your November release, Love by Proxy. There it is in the flesh. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about it, and you can start reading whenever you're ready.
It's kind of a Cyrano de Bergerac with a twist. Sophie and Tess are best friends, and they work together. And in this particular scene, Tess has been banned from the office for a few days. And it's in Sophie's point of view. When Tess reads something she's written for Sophie to send to Blair, a woman she's met online. Now I'll get my mouth together so I can speak. Sorry. Okay, so Sophie's car jerked as she pulled into Tess's driveway and threw it into park. She glanced up at the sky as she walked up the pathway to the door. The sky was clear with the stars perfectly visible. It seemed like the first breath of fresh air she'd had all day. Working without Sophie in the office was challenging and horribly boring. She hit the doorbell before she entered as usual and dropped her laptop on the floor by the couch on her way to the kitchen. I hope you have bourbon. It's been a shitty day. You know where it is. Sophie went to the pantry, plucked the bottle from the top shelf, and poured herself a drink. She downed it, poured another, and downed it as well. Hey, take it easy, or we're not going to get any work done tonight. Tess slid the bottle away. Screw work. She tossed back another drink. Did you eat anything tonight? Nope. Sophie kneaded her forehead with her fingers, left work, and came straight here. Okay. Tess went to the refrigerator, took out several hunks of cheese, and put them on the cutting board. Can you grab the crackers from the pantry? Sophie reached back inside and stared at the variety on the shelf. Which ones? Your choice. Tess was always so accommodating. Sophie glanced over her shoulder to catch a glimpse of Tess as her dark hair all mussed around her face. She was dressed in black yoga pants and a hot pink form-fitting tank top. Were you working out? She grabbed the Triscuit crackers, opened the box, and let them spill onto the board. I went to the gym. I needed to release some anxiety. Tess arranged the crackers next to the cheese. I was just about to jump into the shower when you got here. Don't mind me. I'll just sit here and stuff my face. Sophie popped a couple of crackers into her mouth, one after the other, and then finished with a piece of cheese. Why is this always so good? Tess grinned. I bought several different varieties of crackers last time I went to the store. Ooh, Sophie widened her eyes like a child with a new toy. I didn't see them. She twirled around to look for the others, then grabbed the box of cracked pepper flavored and dumped a few onto the board. These are really good too. She immediately ate one and enjoyed the zing from the pepper as it danced across her tongue. How did I know you'd pick those? Tess fixed a plate of crackers with several different cheeses and fed her a slice before she took the plate to the coffee table. If we're not going to work, do you want to hear what I wrote this afternoon for your communications with Blair? Yes, please. Sophie flopped onto the couch. Tess was always helping her. You mentioned that she's been working a lot. I thought she might be struggling with her job. Tess retrieved a piece of paper from her desk. Could be. Tess sat next to her. Okay, so I wrote something that might make her feel better. You are not only who you are who you can be, who you want to be, who you are destined to be. It may be a struggle and may be full of heartache and tears, but it will take you one step closer to whom you truly are. Sophie listened and watched Tess as she read what she'd written. Her stomach knotted as unfamiliar feelings swelled inside. She was seeing Tess in a totally different way. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Thank you. I hope you like it. Not just the words, Tess. You're beautiful, always have been. She couldn't believe she'd only begun to see it for the first time over the past few days, and even more tonight. Maybe the alcohol was bringing her feelings to the surface. Oh? Tess stared at her with searching eyes. Her stomach tingled. Everything Tess wrote was hitting her right in the heart, and the alcohol was hitting her brain quickly. She rushed closer to Tess, took her face in her hands, and kissed her long, slow, and deep. Tess's lips were soft and so much sweeter than she had imagined. This was a total mistake, but in this moment, it felt completely right. Sophie broke the kiss, and Tess seemed stunned before she hooked her hand behind Sophie's neck and pulled her in for another scorching kiss. Tongues mingled and hands roamed, and soon Sophie was out of breath. She broke the kiss again. Tess held her fingers to Sophie's lips before she took her hand and stood, then led her across the living room to the bedroom and pushed her onto the bed. Just give me a minute to clean up. She went into the bathroom and closed the door. Sophie heard the shower kick on and sniffed the collar of her shirt. Maybe she should shower too. She felt the cool sheet next to her, glanced at the wrought iron headboard, imagined Tess holding the rails while Sophie buried herself between her legs. She was immediately wet, turned on to a degree she didn't quite understand. Were they really going to do this? Could she do this without hurting Tess? No, this would ruin their friendship forever. What was she thinking? Panic filled her, and she stood to leave. The room began to spin. Not going anywhere tonight. She'd have to find another way out of this.
Wow, awesome. I also totally love that line of dialogue where she can't speak, because I feel that so much. I read all these books with all this like really witty dialogue. And I'm like, that's so not me. Like, how do you think thoughts in that moment? I got nothing.
Right.
So I appreciate that.
For sure.
Thank you so much, Dena.
Yep.
All righty. Next up, we have Jaime Maddox. Let me see if I can help Jaime out. There we go. Hello, hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes. So Jaime is reading from her brand spanking new this month, January release, Paris Rules. Please tell us a little bit about your new book, and you can start reading whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Sandy. Paris Rules is my sort of fictional autobiography. A lot of truth in this book. The story of how I met my wife and how our romance began, which unbelievably was at the top of the Eiffel Tower. And Carolyn told me I could never write this book while she was still alive. And I did it anyway. And hopefully this doesn't mean anything bad's going to happen. But it was a great book to write because it brought back so many memories. It's our 20th anniversary this year. And if COVID allows, we are going back to Paris. So I'm very excited about that. It was fun to look at the pictures and do the research for this. So the main characters in this book are Carly and Paige, and they meet about 6 months before the scene in Paris that I'm going to read to you. And they sort of fight their attraction for a while and accidentally wind up in Paris together, and just decide that instead of playing by the normal rules, that they're going to invent some Paris rules while they're there. And kind of like Vegas, what happens in Paris stays in Paris. At least that was the plan when they decided that they were going to follow their hearts. And this is where that starts. The point of view that we start with is Carly's, and they have just arrived in Paris after an overnight flight from New York. And they arrived, of course, exhausted, spent the day touring, and now they are at dinner with a bunch of people from the tour that they took. And so they're having a group dinner. At dinner, they sat beside each other at a long table, and even though they were surrounded by other people, talking with some of the faculty from the university, she was tuned into Paige. She changed into a lightweight turtleneck sweater and had a diamond pendant hanging from her neck with earrings that matched. The sweater was teal and her eyes darkened to match it. Paige smelled of something sweet, and Carly wanted to dive in right there at the table. Sighing, she sipped her wine and felt Paige's hand on her thigh. Oh, wow. You okay? She asked. Carly nodded. I'm great. How about you? Paige nodded in return. She couldn't remember being so happy, but of course, being with Carly always had that effect on her. Fantastic, she said. She sipped her wine, but discreetly put the glass back on the table. This was her second glass, and she felt a little tipsy already. In just a little while, she'd be alone with Carly, and on this particular night in this very romantic city, she needed to keep her wits about her. Obviously, her attraction to Carly wasn't as dead as she'd thought, and that could only complicate things. Not only could she lose their friendship if she did something stupid, like make a pass at her, but she could find herself homeless as well. Once again, the food was served family style, with fresh bread and good conversation. When they finished, the tour guide gave them directions back to the hotel. Some went with them, some went off on their own. What are you thinking? Paige asked. Oh, let's walk, Carly replied. Instinctively, they turned toward the Eiffel Tower, and after walking a few blocks, following the directions on Paige's phone, they turned left then right and stopped at the Champ de Mars. Let's do it, Paige said when the Eiffel Tower came into view. Their tickets from earlier in the day were no longer valid, so they purchased new ones and rode the elevator alone to the top. The crowd had mostly disappeared. Wow, she said as she saw the twinkling lights over the city of Paris for the first time. This is not at all how I imagined my nighttime trip to the Eiffel Tower would be. They leaned on the railing and looked out over the river. Carly sounded disappointed, but Paige was in awe. What did you imagine? She asked, after a moment, hugging herself to chase the chill. The light jacket she'd worn had been fine when the sun warmed Paris, but now it was cold, and atop the tower was a breeze she hadn't noticed from the ground. I imagined being here with someone I loved, kissing her up here. Paige swallowed as she looked out over the city again and then back to Carly. The tower seemed to sway in the breeze, or perhaps it was the effect of the wine. Even in the dim light, Carly was gorgeous, her dark hair dancing around her face. She thought of kissing her and then pondered how ridiculous that was, how inappropriate. And then, before she could think any more, she closed the space between them and took Carly's face in her hands. Her lips were on Carly's in an instant, and Carly tried to pull back, but then she felt Carly relax, and she was kissing her back. Paige felt so many things at once that nothing seemed to make sense. Then Carly's arms were around her, pulling her close, sharing her warmth, and her mouth was so soft and wet as their tongues met in the middle. The kiss had started out strong, challenging, but it quickly morphed into something tender that left her panting, suddenly breathless and wetter than she'd ever been. Carly broke the kiss and mated their foreheads. I was not expecting that, she whispered. I need to regroup. Paige kissed Carly's cheek, then her nose, and found her mouth once again. And once again, the kiss was all-consuming. She wanted to crawl inside Carly's jacket to wrap around her. She couldn't get close enough. Her need for Carly had exploded. Paige, what are you doing? Carly panted. She pulled back, looked at Paris once again, and her eyes couldn't focus. Those had been the two most amazing kisses of her life. She didn't want to think about what it meant to have kissed Carly or that it had been phenomenal. She spent too much of her life thinking, and all it did was confuse her. At this moment, she didn't want to think. She just wanted to feel. I'm kissing my favorite person in the world atop the Eiffel Tower. Carly's fingers gently turned her chin, and their eyes met. Then Carly wrapped her arms around her and pulled her close again. The kiss was deep and sultry, but when she felt her center meet the corner of Carly's hip, her lust exploded. Let's go back to the hotel, she whispered into Carly's neck. Carly pulled back. It'll take a half an hour to get back. I'm hoping this fizzles out by then. Grabbing her hand, Paige pulled Carly toward the elevator. I don't. Let's take a cab. If you want to know the rest, Paris Rules on sale now.
These are getting spicy, you guys. And I love that that's based on your romance. And I'm even happier that your wife is okay. Because when you first started talking, I was like, oh no. But she's okay.
Well,
Which is good. We're all relieved.
You know, I suppose everybody does this when they write. You know, there's a lot of them in it, and their experiences and the people they know. So every time she reads something, she's like, oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. This is just like, oh.
It's lovely. I love it. Gives me the feels.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Kimberly Cooper Griffin.
Hi there.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing well, except for I'm having a hard time with my keyboard.
Are you ready for some kissing?
I am, and I'm sensing a theme here. There's a little bit of food, a little bit of wine or
A little
bourbon.
bit of dancing. Yeah.
A little bit of dancing. There's themes going on here. So.
All right. I can't wait to see what you got for us. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Can't Leave Love, and you can start reading whenever you're ready.
Okay, this is Can't Leave Love, and it came out in October. And this isn't a first kiss, but it's like a first kiss. First of all, Can't Leave Love is a sweet small town romance, and it really showcases family and friends, some of which are of the four-legged variety. And it's really homey, but it's about two people that know that they shouldn't be together. And they have to kind of fight it a little bit. And the first time they actually do kiss was followed up by a series of unfortunate events. Somebody gets stung by a bee, and another person tweaks their ankle while they're playing with one of the dogs. So they're both kind of wondering whether or not the other one remembers kissing each other the first time that they did it. So Prue Glenn is one of the protagonists, and she doesn't do casual. She's a high school teacher. She's lived in the same small town that she was born in. She doesn't even want to travel. She just likes it where she's at, and she loves her life. She doesn't need anything to disrupt her little slice of paradise, she thinks. And she's willing to wait for the right person to come along, which is kind of difficult in a small town. Sophia Mcgovern is the other protagonist, and she's a mechanic who moves from place to place. She's always felt like something was a little bit missing in her life, and she can't figure out what it is. But when she gets to Fort Devlin, Colorado, and she meets Prue, things start to change. When she does land in Fort Devlin, she and Prue both know a relationship is a bad idea, but for some reason they keep on finding themselves drifting together. So this is starting off near the beginning. Sophia leaned against the counter. She held Prue's arm, her warm hands a sensual contrast to Prue's cold skin. "You have goosebumps," Sophia said. Prue shivered. "It's chilly in here." "I keep the cooler going because Sammy gets overheated easily," Sophia said. Prue glanced at Sammy, Sophia's sweet pit bull, who was lounging in a square of sunlight on the linoleum. But her concentration was on the warm hands that were now stroking her arms. "I'd rather be a little chilly than too hot," Prue's voice trembled. "You can always put more clothes on, but you only have so much to take off." The quirk of Sophia's lips told Prue she wanted to say something. Instead, Sophia kept running her hands up and down Prue's arms. "I'll get something to warm you up." Sophia disappeared down the hall, and Prue reminded herself that Sophia was only in town temporarily. The microwave chimed, and she swapped out the dishes, the aroma of enchiladas filling Sophia's small trailer. She checked her watch. Her lunch hour was almost up. They'd spent more time talking than she thought. "This is the softest hoodie I own." Prue turned and nearly collided with Sophia, who stood right behind her holding a jacket. She'd unzipped the top part of her own coveralls, which were now dangling from her waist. The tight white tank top she wore under it was stark against her tan skin. Prue had never been one to ogle a woman, but her pulse sped up at the sight. Sophia reached around and draped the cotton jacket across Prue's shoulders. All of Prue's senses seemed amplified: the scent of Sophia, the heat of Sophia, the sight of Sophia. With arms that didn't seem to be her own, Prue reached up to hold Sophia's arms in place before she could withdraw them. Sophia rested her hands on Prue's shoulders. "Is this okay? Do you want a different hoodie or maybe a flannel shirt? I have both." "It's fine. Everything is fine." Prue ran her hands from Sophia's wrists to her elbows and back again. More goosebumps rose across her skin as Sophia watched her. Both of them knew it had nothing to do with the air conditioning. "What do you need?" Sophia asked, her voice low and quiet. Prue wanted something she shouldn't want. She stared at Sophia's lips. She'd been haunted by the kiss they'd shared near the river ever since it had happened, but it felt so long ago, almost as if it had happened to someone else. Here she was, though, remembering Sophia's beautiful body, craving her kiss, and so close to her that she could feel Sophia's heat radiating from her body. She needed to feel it against her. She needed her mouth. The yearning eclipsed all other thought, yet she couldn't move. Sophia's lips were right there, less than 6 inches away, and she couldn't make herself close the distance. She wanted to, every cell in her body wanted to, but she couldn't. She just stood there holding Sophia's arms and staring at her mouth. Sophia looked at Prue's hands, and Prue realized she was holding them so tight there were probably going to be bruises later. Chagrined, she loosened her grip, but she still couldn't move, couldn't step back, caught between fear and desire. Sophia licked her lips, and Prue almost collapsed. I thought you were about to kiss me, Sophia said. Prue loved the way Sophia's mouth moved when she talked, how her perfect teeth flashed between the natural red tint of her full lips and the occasional peak of her tongue when she enunciated certain words. Were you? Sophia asked. Prue pried her eyes from Sophia's lips and stared into her eyes. They were so beautiful, so expressive, dark brown with countless facets reflecting the natural sunlight in the room. Sophia tipped her head to the side, waiting. The corner of her mouth lifted. Tell me, were you? Prue pondered the question as another wave of heat rose through her. You're adorable when you blush, Sophia leaned close. If it's okay, I'm going to kiss you now. Instead, Prue closed the remaining gap, meeting her lips, and the world came to a crashing halt. Nothing else existed, just her and Sophia. No up, no down, no trailer, no work, just them and the kiss. She took a step closer and their bodies met. Prue wanted to crush herself against her, to wrap her arms around Sophia, pulling her close. But she didn't. She concentrated on the soft heat of Sophia's lips. Sophia's tongue tracing her lower lip, the warmth of her soft face. The timer of the microwave chimed. It was Sophia who finally pulled away. She didn't move far, just enough to catch her breath. I suppose we should eat lunch, huh? Sophia said against Prue's lips, the vibration of her voice tickling Prue's lips. I suppose so. Prue took a reluctant step backward toward the microwave. Food was the last thing on her mind, but she needed the space or she was going to do something she'd regret later. She reminded herself she didn't do casual.
Oh, she won't regret it.
They
Come
never
on.
do.
Kimberly Cooper Griffin, who makes RVs sexy. I mean, I didn't think it could be done, but I feel like you just gave us all a lesson. That was awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Eeny, Meeny, oh, we only have one left. Allie Valley, get your butt in here.
Hey.
Hey, Allie.
How are you?
Which one of your zillion books are you reading from tonight?
Well, I thought I'd give a preview, but there's kissing, but not anything romantic like everyone else had. Because the kissing would be like giving it all up on the first date. We can't do that. So
keeping us in suspense. All right.
So
Kissing
I thought
but
I would
kissing.
read.
I'm
I don't think it's out until May. I think we backed it up because of everything else that's gone wrong in my life. But writer's block, which was really fun to write, and it's different.
All right, tell us all about it, Allie.
So we have Wyatt Whitlock, who is a rock star in the. She's an author. She writes mystery novels. She is at the top of her game. Something really tragic happens, so she kind of retreats into her shell and gets some writer's block. Eventually, editor extraordinaire Haley Fox will come along, but that's kind of later on in the book. So, like I said, there's only one mention of kissing, and it's not anything romantic at all. So this is the first part of an introduction to Wyatt Whitlock in writer's block. So phoned it in and the connection was bad. That's just the best way to describe Wyatt Whitlock's latest thriller. Believe me, using the word thriller for this latest work is like trying to stretch a 40-inch waist into 30-inch jeans. You can try it, but it's an exercise in futility. Take my advice and skip this one and try the Yellow Pages instead. It'll be a much more riveting read than Clifton Heights. Wyatt Whitlock read the review in the New York Times for the 5th time, waiting for the urge to strangle Antonio Sculler with typewriter ribbon to pass, but no such luck. The slimy asshole could kiss her ass. It was a known fact that he took pleasure in other people's pain, especially if they wrote books. The truth, though, was that she couldn't find fault with his review. Clifton Heights had started off fine, but then it was like pulling words out of her ass. The problem with pulling anything out of your ass was it stunk. No matter how fond you were of your crap, it was still crap. You could dress it up, you could title it, but your shit still stunk. Or was it stank? Are you blaming your shit on us? Her mother's voice popped in her head like it had been doing for the last 3 months. And as always, uninvited. I don't need an invitation. I'm your mother. As for the other thing, it's not our fault the gas line in the house shot us into oblivion at 2:30 in the morning. Maybe right about that, the unfairness of life that you can complain about, but it's still no one's fault. Listen to your mother, kid. Her father's voice hadn't been left out of her slide into the quite humorous but pronounced insanity. She blamed it on the fact that she spoke to her parents at least once a day all her life, and in an instant, her sounding boards full of advice and ideas went silent. The quiet sometimes that people craved was grating on her nerves, blowing out the creative streak that she had had from age 5 when she'd written her first 2-page book. She balled the review and threw it into the fire. The intense but brief fireball gave her a bit of satisfaction. Antonio deserved to get hit, but not necessarily killed, by a city bus. Maybe one of those double-decker numbers that were always rumbling through Times Square so that the tourists could get pictures and video of the fucker moaning as he got gum in his hair. Once it made the news, she could write a review about his pathetic mamby-pamby performance. The white screen with the blinking cursor from hell said otherwise. Her brain had run as dry as the Sahara when it came to the written word. Who would have guessed her creative muses were a contractor and housewife from Brooklyn? Well, that wasn't necessarily true. She knew she had always known her parents' influence. They'd been her greatest cheerleaders and had filled her with the confidence to pursue her passions. That unending support had landed her here. The brownstone off Central Park was beautiful, according to her mom, and had good bones, according to her father. Now it felt more like the walls were closing in on her than home, and she had to get out of here or suffocate. She hadn't left since the funeral, not in the mood to deal with people and their false sympathy. Those insincere voices full of pity were enough to drive her over a cliff. She had finally ripped the phone out of the wall when some people didn't get the hint that she wouldn't answer the door. People meant well, but pain was hard to work through. Someone telling her that they were sorry didn't mean shit. Her thoughts ran amok like a mouse in a maze that ran the thing in search of cheese, but only ran into wall after wall. One recurring offshoot was that the opportunity she'd missed spending time with her parents and had blown them off to work or do something else. Not having that chance again made her want to go to bed for the next year. What the hell are you saying? Are you an idiot? Her brain had gotten her mother's inflection and word choice down perfectly. Do you think either of us wanted you moping around forever? You spent more than enough time with us. Any more in the world would have demanded you go to therapy for your codependent ways. And you look horrible in sweatpants. She glanced down at the sweatpants she'd been wearing for 5 days straight and grimaced at the jelly stain on her knee. And then again, who the hell was going to see her aside from her dead parents? They dropped in more now than when they were alive. We visited plenty, despite the crippling traffic into the city. Now do me a favor and take those clothes off, take a shower, and go to bed. You're stinking up the place. Her mom would call often with that advice when she was battling a deadline. You're never going to find a wife if you keep acting like personal hygiene is something I never taught you. One more glance at the computer still hadn't changed from the blank page, so she slammed it shut and stripped for the shower. The hot water did make her feel more human, and the sheets felt better against her skin as she fell into a dreamless sleep. It was a godsend of oblivion where she didn't have to think about her life and everything that had gone wrong.
Dun, dun, dun. All right, Allie, it's time to fess
Eventually
up.
there will be kissing. In this
So
case,
it's more like kiss my ass, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
basically. Well, there was kiss, you know.
So how much of that was autobiographical? Because gotta ask.
No, I said I wrote this, and then it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I now have writer's block. So this one was really fun to write. It was, like I said, it's different. I wrote Calumet, and people thought it was really different. A lot of people liked it. Some people didn't. But this one really is. I remember sending it to Vic and giving her the description. She's like, "Are you like a creeper?" It's like, "No, I'm not." So then she read it and she liked it. So it's always good when your editor likes it. So,
All right. Something new and different from Valley. Thank you.
right.
If everyone can jump back on, we do have a couple of minutes for questions. If you have a question for our panelists, please do pop it in the Q&A. Since our topic tonight is kissing, which I will never get tired of saying, I have a question for you. I'm going to pull one from our intro, and that's on the different types of kisses. What type is your favorite type? What type do you like to write the most? What type do you write the most? First kisses, I'm sorry kisses, you're so hot we're going to be late kisses, goodbye kisses. What kind's your favorite, Nance?
I'm gonna go with the hot kisses. I think those are probably my favorite to write. Is the steamy, can't get undressed fast enough, hot kisses.
All right, I love it. Dena, how about you?
There are a lot of first kisses. I don't write sad kisses, I don't think. But hot kisses are good too, though.
Yeah. All right, Megan.
I would say I like writing emotional kisses. Whether it be heartbreak emotional or heart mending emotional. I love that mixture of writing in what the characters are just feeling and struggling with or releasing and letting go of while writing kissing too. I love that.
Yeah, how like the emotional meets the physical and
Oh, yep. And I feel like the reader could get a sense of almost like them, a relationship could be born again, and you would get a sense of that through like that healing emotional kiss.
for sure. Allie, how about you? What kiss is your favorite?
I guess the first kiss kind of sets a tone for kind of who the characters are going to be together. Maybe that first kiss that makes all your clothes disappear. You know.
Right, Allie Valley going in for the
Magic
kill
kisses.
right away on the first kiss. Woo.
I'm saying the first kiss that does that, not necessarily.
Oh, I see. Okay, misinterpreted that one. Freudian slip, perhaps. Kimberly, how about you? What's your favorite kind of kiss to write?
I like the kisses where they're still trying to hold back that kiss, right? I mean, I like them all. All kisses are good, except for goodbye kisses. And but it's that kiss that's right before they actually do it, and do it, whatever do it is. But that kiss that they're trying to hold back and saying it's not time, or maybe it is, or that whole feeling of whether or not there's going to be more to it in that one. I think it's that anticipation of things getting really wild.
Sure, love that. And Jaime, how about you? What kind of kiss is your favorite kind of kiss?
The almost relief kiss after the first one. So since I write romance and romantic intrigue, it's not the established relationship like what Em wrote or Em read tonight. It's that new love. So, they have that passionate moment at the top of the Eiffel Tower, and then they make love after they've been building up to this. But then it's like, and they can just sort of get to know each other and have fun with it. And I think that's amazing. So
Yeah.
I can never end a book on the first kiss. Has to go on for a couple more kisses after that.
Awesome. And I agree too. I think there's a lot of like angst and anxiety around the first kiss because, you want it to go well and there's a lot of pressure on it. And then, as the book goes on and as more kisses happen, it just kind of eases off and love it. Awesome. All right. Any questions from our readers? Not yet. All right. I do have one more. The question is about pacing. How fast is too fast for kissing? Do you jump in right away? Do your characters kiss right away? Do you wait and build that tension for the kissing? Does it vary from book to book, and why? How do you decide when to write that first kiss? Dena?
Depends on the characters for me. In the one that's in edits now, they kiss right away and then they come back to it. In the one I'm starting now, that's going to be a ways until they kiss. So it really depends on the characters and how they meet and what the environment is. The other factors involved, the other characters, if there's somebody else waiting in the wings, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely dependent on your characters. Allie, how about you? Do you jump in right away with the kissing or do you hold off a little bit?
I guess it depends on the book. I think in the Inheritance, they meet, and that first kiss does make their clothes magically disappear. But and then the wheels fall right off that train. So it takes a while for the second kiss, or the second time they kiss, I guess. This new one, writer's block, you're going to be waiting a while. It's not to say that it's not, sexy. It's a sexy book, I think. It's just different sexy.
I don't know. I heard she was a creeper, so
Yeah.
maybe there's a reason we're waiting a while. I don't know.
Exactly. It's mutual. So
Okay.
no,
All
their
right.
name. I mean, it turns out, she leaves New York just to kind of get her head straight and buys a house in New Orleans, since I know New Orleans better than I know New York. But it entitles a very big renovation. And so she meets the whole neighborhood, but she meets Haley a very special way, and they carry on a very special relationship until they don't.
All right. Awesome. Nance, how about you? Do you jump in right away with the kissing or do you like to build that tension first?
I think it depends on the story and the characters. I'm with everybody else. I've done both. So, and it really just depends on, like, Alaskan Wedding. They dove in pretty quick, and Cowgirl not so much. And the next one, it takes a while. So
Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot. Dependent on the characters and the story and how they meet. Yep. Ullrich, do you have anything to add?
No, not really. I agree. It's characters, it's the storyline. I've written a few established couples, even in Holiday Wishes and Mistletoe Kisses. I have couples who have been together for a little bit. I have couples who are come together for basically like a one night stand. So they start kissing pretty instantly. So it's all different. Then you have like the slow burn kiss. What I'm writing right now is more of a slow burn. So it really depends on what the story is, who the characters are, and how they come together.
Awesome. I love that. And Kim, how about you? Do you jump in right away with kissing or do you like to build the tension?
When I'm writing, I almost always write the kissing scene first. I like it. In my real life, I just jump into it. But when I'm writing, it's typically been in the book. It's about I don't know, about a third of the way in, usually. But they're thinking about it a lot. Usually from the very beginning, they're thinking about it, and so yeah.
Cool. Awesome. I like that element too. Like there's lots of different elements of kissing, like before and after the actual kiss too, right? Like you're thinking about it before it happens, maybe hoping it happens, and then after you're like going through, thinking about how it was and how you want to kiss again. Oh, so much to work with. Thank you.
The best inspiration, really.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. I think we are just about out of time, unfortunately. Thank you all so much to our amazing panelists. Have a great night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.